Hello everyone and welcome to the next session of Core Java. In this session, we will discuss about multithreading, and in multithreading we will discuss about interthread communication. Now first of all, let's understand what is interthread communication. As the term says, it is the communication internally done by the threads. Why it is required? It may be required because multiple threads are working on the same data through different context. Let's say, for example, there is a file and two threads are accessing the file in such a way that one thread is writing data into the file and another thread is reading data from the file. So file is common, which is used by both the threads. However, the way how this write and read operation is performed are different. So one method to read data, one method to write data. And two different threads are working in this particular manner. So what is the ideal situation, or what should be done in this particular scenario is, when one thread is performing a write operation, another thread must not try to read the data. And when another thread is reading the data, previous thread must not try to write data into the file. So this can be implemented through interthread communication, and interthread communication can be implemented through wait, notify, and notify all methods. So let's now see how this functionality can be implemented. So now say, for example, I have a class demo which has got a variable num, and I have setters and getters to perform set operation and get operation for that particular data. So I will just print what value we have set for that variable and what value is returned whenever this particular getter method is being called. So num variable is same, however, setting value into num variable is done through one method and getting value from num variable is done through another method. Now, there is this thread, let's name it as producer thread. So producer thread is going to produce value for this num variable. So in short, this producer thread is going to make use of this setNum method. So I should have a variable now. This producer thread is required to give call to this setNum method. So I will declare one variable of type demo, which can be initialized with the parameter which we are passing to this constructor. So this dot demo equal to demo. Then we need to override the run method. So in this run method, we are going to give call to this setter method. So say for example, int count equal to 0. Initially the counter is 0 while true. So this is the infinite loop, and demo dot set num as count, and I'm going to increment that count every time. Now we need to start this particular thread. So what approach we can use over here is we can call the start method in the constructor itself. So whenever the object is being created, it will also start that particular thread. Now let's create another thread which will consume data. So here I'm creating consumer thread. This consumer thread is also extending thread class. Here we will be giving call to getter method. So I should have a variable of type demo, consumer thread constructor, which will accept this particular parameter, and this dot demo equal to demo, and we will start this particular thread. Then the run method. Now as we are calling setter method in infinite loop, we will call this getter method also in infinite loop. Definitely we don't need to pass any parameter because getNum method will never accept any variable. Let's now create a main class which will have main method. So whenever I'm going to create object of producer thread and consumer thread, obviously I will need this particular object. So new producer thread, I'm passing demo to it. Again here we have resource sharing, consumer thread, and again this same object is being passed. So now whenever we are executing this particular code, you can see, I'll just stop the execution over here. You can see that some number is being printed with set as a label or got as a label. So somewhere it was seen as set, somewhere you can see it is got, and so on. You can see somewhere it might have displayed set or something, right? It was there somewhere earlier. Fine. Anyways, this output is asynchronous, so we cannot predict. So again, you can see now this value here, you can see some value is set, some value is got, and one value is received multiple times, right? So these threads are not working in sync. They are not synchronous. So we have seen that what we can do is these methods are being accessed by the threads. So let's declare these methods as synchronized methods. And let's check the behavior of these synchronized methods. So again, I'm executing this main class. And you will see that still there is no difference in the output. right? Still there is no difference, only set is being printed multiple times, then get is being got is being printed multiple times, and so on. So this is not the solution. Why? What we have seen in synchronization is when one thread is acquiring lock on this particular resource, no other thread will be able to access this particular resource. Now, which is the another thread which is going to access this getNum method? Same consumer thread. So for the first time, whenever consumer thread has accessed this getNum, next thread is also consumer thread, and simultaneously producer thread is going to access this setNum method. So in any ways, just declaring these two methods synchronized is not going to help us. So threads should communicate with each other. How? First, let's say that producer thread should produce the value ideally. So producer thread is accessing setNum method. At that point, consumer thread must not try to access this getNum method, because unless value is set, it should not be consumed. So this is done through interthread communication. Now how it is done? Very simple thing. First of all, we will declare a variable which is Boolean variable, and let's initialize it with the false value, false or true, whatever you want. Now, initially which thread should be executing? So setNum should be executing. So let's consider that if this flag is false, setNum will be executing and getNum will not be executed, right? So if flag equal true, so if the flag is true, then this thread should go into wait state. Wait will drive the current thread into pause state, and this throws interrupted exception. So we will have to handle that particular, right? So what has happened? I'll have to make this condition as false. It will not be true. True will be here for setNum, right? Because I want setNum to be executing. So if the flag is false, then this thread getNum, the thread which is accessing getNum, should be driven into wait state. Now this interthread communication can be handled with a flag. So let's declare one Boolean variable, say flag equal to true. So if flag is true, setNum should be executing, and if flag is false, getNum should be executing, right? Means if flag equal true, because initially I want this code to be executed, then this thread will go into wait state, and this method throws an exception which needs to be handled. So how it is going to execute? Flag value is initially true, so it will check here. As it is true, means the current thread will go into the wait state. At the same time, producer thread is accessing this setNum method, and it will execute this particular code, right? Then one thread is waiting over there. Now here at this particular point, execution of producer thread is complete. It has set the value. So it should notify the waiting thread that I'm done with this particular task. Right? Now, once it is notified, at the same time, what should happen? Again, it is going to check this particular condition, that whether it is true or not. Right? So we will see, we'll look at that particular condition later on. Now, before this notification is done, right? Before this notification to one waiting thread is done, this flag needs to be changed. The value of flag boolean value should be changed. Why? If I will not change that particular value, then every time, because by default it is true, so every time this particular thread will remain in the wait state. Now currently which part of code is executing? This part of code is executing. So we will set that flag equal to false. So now flag is false. So again, whenever this particular thread is going to access this getNum, it is again going to evaluate this condition. And when it is going to evaluate this condition is evaluated to false because flag is not true. So this part will not get executed and it will directly come here for the execution. But at the same time, what should have happened? If flag equal false, because if the flag is false, then producer thread should go into the wait state. Right? So here the producer thread is driven into the wait state. So this part of code was, this condition was evaluated to true. So this thread is driven into the wait state. So this part of code is being executed. Now again, what is required? Once this task is done, there should be notification sent to the another thread, notify. Also, at the same time, this flag needs to be set to true, because otherwise every time this condition will be evaluated to true because flag is false, and this thread will continuously be in the wait state. So we'll have to get it back into execution. So by interchanging this value of flag, we can have interthread communication implemented. Now these wait, notify and notify all, these methods are available in the object class. Wait will driven the current thread into the wait state. Notify will notify one waiting thread, notify for that particular resource, same resource, and notify all is going to notify all waiting threads for that particular resource. So now whenever I'm executing this particular code, you can see that whatever value is set, the same value is got, then next value is set, then next value is got, and so on. So now they are working in sync. So this is how interthread communication is implemented in Multithread. Thank you.